Hey everybody, so we have a ton of SD cards and there's more in various cameras and we need a place to store them because we're constantly looking for them and they end up on the floor and all over the place. So we're going to make an SD card wallet today and there will be a pattern in the description if you want to make one too. So like everything in the shop, I'm just going to use some scrap veg tin that is a little marked up. That's what we like to use because it ages nice and unique, and we'll just trace everything out. We do need 2 of each of these, so 2 copies of both. So you have everything cut out, all the tops of the pockets are burnished. I did make the strap out of a thicker leather because I'm not going to stitch it. You could use the thinner leather and line it, or you could just do it like this too. You could also, if you don't want to do the shaped one, you could just do a 3/4 inch strip. I think it's about 4 inches long, but that'll be in the pattern too if you want. So the next step is I have to use my pattern. We have card pockets here, and then these are going to be our SD slots. So I'm just going to mark out the stitch lines so that they're straight and even on everything. And yeah, and then we have to attach the strap to the body before we put the pockets on. And you would also, if you want to line this, again, so this is scrap leather. You can see this leather is kind of junky looking, but I love that. Like, I love when leather has imperfections on it. So that's why I use it for shop stuff. And to remove some bulk, I'm going to skive the edges of the pockets that aren't curved. So first I'm going to use my dividers to make a little guideline here, and then we'll go through and we'll skive all the edges. So now we need a bit of glue, and I've just marked out where our little SD pocket lands on our card pocket. Made a mark with my scratch awl, so I know that I have to stop gluing there on the top. And then of course, we'll glue the back of the SD card wallet all the way around. So these are just little tiny stitch lines. I'm probably just going to use 1 length of my 6-prong 5mm stitching iron here, and just kind of, that should be plenty to separate our cards. I don't want to go all the way down because I don't want this stitch line to run into my stitch line when I sew around the finished piece. So once we have these sewn up, we're almost ready to just glue everything up and sew it, but I need to attach our strap to our wallet body, and then I'm going to attach the snaps as well, because there are going to be, these are kind of delicate, the memory cards. I wanted the snap to be on the outside, so that way there's a bunch of leather in between the hardware and the cards. we have our hardware installed, little glove snap, and then just a little tiny rivet that Weaver sells. We just got a bunch of these in. They're crazy. They're so small. It's nice to use them in little things like this because they're really low profile. So I've marked where our pockets are going to land, and all that's left is to glue these, stick them in, and sew around the outside. So this is like kind of an end cut, and it ended up being okay, but it's a little more hairy than I'd like it to be. You could, of course, if you want to make one of these super nice, you can line it, you can do all the fancy stuff, but because this is just for the shop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with some mink oil first, and what that's going to do is it's going to, since this is natural veg, mink oil usually gives a more red tone as the piece ages. Neat's foot will give a more yellow tone. I don't know if there's science behind that, that's just what I've found over the years. And you can see it's, just because it was an off-cut of leather and I used a bunch of gum trag, it's going to look a little splotchy at first, and it probably won't all soak in by the time we're done filming this video, but over the next few days, all of this will, believe it or not, even out, and it'll look nice. And of course, we'll probably use this for years and years, so it'll all blend in over time. But that's one of the reasons I like using the sort of scrap leather, the edge cuts, the less desirable pieces, because the wear patterns are just so interesting and fun to watch. And then I'm going to hit this with a little mink oil on the inside as well. And if you get a little on here, don't worry about it. I wouldn't soak it through or anything, but you know, it'll all wear off or wear in. That's why we use this leather to begin with, so watch it age. And lastly, we're going to hit it with some Aussie leather conditioner. This is just like a wax paste, and it'll soften it up a little bit just because I think this leather was a little bit dry because it's been sitting in the scrap bin for a few months. And the way I like to do this is I'll put a bunch on, and I'll let it sit for 15-20 minutes. Let it soak in. I've heard of people doing it overnight, or, you know, multiple applications. You kind of want to massage it in too. And I'll leave that on. I'll flip it over and do the other side too. And I like to apply it with my fingers, but you can use a sponge or whatever you want. And here we go. Is it the best craft? Nope. Is it the nicest materials? Absolutely not. But this thing is going to age. It's going to be floating around the shop. We're going to use it every day. And when we do that, I just love how things pick up character and all the little imperfections in the piece of leather that we use because it wasn't the best, and the scratches and stuff. It's just my favorite. So what you're getting with this is more of the same. I love making stuff like this for around the shop because you don't get to make it that much. And it's a nice little break to make something that you can really focus on how imperfect it is, because it'll age and it'll look great. So the inside of this design, it just holds 6 SD cards, some room for cards, specifically for us because, you know, we use these in our videos to show you how the cards fit into wallets that we're making and stuff, so it'll be nice to have everything in one place. Kaylina won't yell at me asking for where I put the SD cards anymore, and yeah, it'll just float around. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll have the pattern in the description for a couple bucks. I promise when you make it, it won't be as raggedy looking as this because you can make it much nicer than I did. And we'll see you in the next one.